Hi everyone, and welcome to a quick video about Menace, which is the upcoming turn-based tactical game from the makers of Battle Brothers. I know many of us tactical games enjoyers, XCOM or otherwise, have been waiting for the next big game, and Menace is probably on top of many people's wish lists. I know it's on top of mine. So today we are going to talk about it. I'll tell you what I know about it, and there's some B-roll footage in the background. So if you don't know anything about Menace, and this is the first time you're hearing about it, it's set in the future, in an isolated star system where you're cut off from the core worlds, and you lead a strike force to pacify the system. In the beginning you mostly deal with pirates and rogue corporations, but eventually you will be fighting a mysterious alien threat, which we don't actually know much about just yet. It's been kept under wraps for the most part. And the game itself basically combines elements from both Battle Brothers and XCOM. So if you enjoyed both Battle Brothers and XCOM, this is definitely a game to keep an eye on. The squad leaders will be handwritten, not randomly generated. The missions themselves will be procedurally generated within the operations system, which we'll talk about in a bit, and combat itself will have permanent consequences. There is a strategic layer. You have a strike cruiser, which serves as your mobile base, kind of similar to the Avenger in XCOM 2, I guess. There is a star map navigation system for choosing missions and managing relationships with factions. And there are, of course, all kinds of upgrade modules for your mobile base. You do get promotion points from missions to upgrade your squad leaders. You have to keep your morale in check, manage the relationships with the different groups, and keep an eye on your budget. You will have limited resources for your missions. Anyway, what are operations then? Operations are essentially mini campaigns with like up to 5 or so missions connected together, and they will have a tree-based progression with the branching paths where you have to choose which mission you want to do, and then you cannot backtrack from that. All of the operations will resolve in a single final mission. All of the losses will carry over between missions, so you will have to be careful to not lose too much, or you have to ensure you have enough reserves. And then once the operation is completed, you will get a bunch of rewards, and all of your squad elements will be refilled. Of course, anyone who actually died will stay dead permanently. They will not come back. Kind of like in Battle Brothers. And here's an example of what that might look like. This is from a dev diary, so this is heavily work in progress screenshot. But this is basically what an operation is going to look like. The branching tree, at least. Once you are done with an operation, you do get promotion points for your squad leaders, strategic assets, items, and equipment. And the strategic assets will potentially give you things like a mortar base that can provide off-map fire support in following missions, or intelligence network that increases players' intelligence rating until the end of an operation. Or maybe you'll get auxiliary infantry units for your roster. At the same time, your enemies will also have similar assets that will buff them, like maybe some sites that will stop you from using air support, or an armorer workshop that will increase enemy vehicle armor rating, or a propaganda center that increases enemies' discipline, things like that. But you will be able to complete a mission with a connected enemy asset, and if you do it successfully, that asset will be removed from the campaign. So let's talk a little bit about the actual tactical combat. You will have 100 action points per turn. There will not be an XCOM-style action limit, just the 100 action points. And the different actions will, of course, consume different amounts of APs. So basic weapon fire is like 40, heavy weapons fire is 60, and then movement costs will vary depending on terrain type. Turning your vehicles will also require APs. You will not be able to do that for free. The units themselves alternate between player and the AI. It's not a your turn, enemy turn system. So positioning and the timing will matter a lot, and the numerical superiority will become a significant advantage. And since we're talking about the tactical layer, one very interesting system in Menace is suppression. So the way suppression works in Menace is that it will have 2 stages, technically 3 stages, I guess. The first stage is unaffected, The second stage is suppressed, where you are forced to kneel, which makes you immobile. You lose 50% accuracy and like 30 APs out of 100. And then the third stage, or the second stage, depending on how you count, is pinned, where your unit is forced prone, loses all of its action points, and their vision is reduced to just one tile. Suppression will also affect adjacent tiles, so positioning will be very important. And the way you counter suppression is with smoke grenades, maybe combat drugs, and also overwhelming firepower. You can just suppress the unit that's suppressing you with some other unit you have. Or maybe you can use some off-map assets, like a mortar, to bombard an enemy that's suppressing you. But as far as I could tell, smoke will be one of the most common ways to counter suppression. And combat drugs will be way more rare. The infantry squads themselves will have a squad leader and then 1 to 9 members. The squad leaders themselves will be handwritten characters with unique backstories, perks, and voice acting. The squad sizes will be flexible. You could have, let's say, a 3-person mortar team or a 9-person rifle squad. It's going to be up to you. There will be a persistent manpower pool, and when soldiers die, they're gone permanently. They will, of course, have their equipment, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then you will, of course, have vehicles and mechs. The vehicles will be faster on the roads, as you might imagine, and more importantly, they will have directional armor. So they might have weaker armor in the rear, for example. And they will have a relatively high AP cost to turn. The mechs will be more maneuverable and will have same armor all around. So they will be better in smaller confined spaces. There will be a modular weapon system with light, medium, heavy weapon slots. There will be vehicle defects at 25%, 50% and 75% damage. Your systems will malfunction, maybe your engines will break, maybe your weapons will jam, things like that. One very key advantage vehicles will have is that they will be immune to suppression. So they will be crucial for breaking enemy positions. You will have a supply point budget for your missions. So you'll have to balance between squad size, equipment quality, vehicle support, etc. There will be day missions, night missions, there will be a weather system. Also, some squad leaders might have perks for expanded or behind enemy lines deployments. So it definitely sounds like there will be a lot of decisions to be made, both before the mission and then during the mission. Now, let's talk about equipment for a second. The armor will have a 6-class system, where higher classes are straight-up upgrades, usually modernized or otherwise enhanced versions of existing armors that will offer more protection and other benefits, but for an increased price. And then there are also variants. Variants are side grades that will specialize in certain aspects. So, for example, maybe versions for assault troops with additional accessory, or commando versions with improved camouflage. And then it will be possible to have additional tier of an armor variant, which should give you quite a bit to think about. So as an example of some armor classes, Armor Class 2 is soft armor, designed to protect against shrapnel and explosions mainly. It will not really stop bullets fired from short distances. Then Armor Class 3 is small arms protective plating, which will reliably stop SMG caliber weapons, as long as the armor is still intact. And for example, Tier 6 is extreme small arms protective plating, which provides protection almost close to a mechanized walker, is capable of deflecting large caliber rounds, but it significantly restricts mobility, maneuverability, and field of vision. So it's not necessarily a no-brainer to use in every single situation ever, assuming you can afford to have it. All of the armor will have durability, but you will be able to restore it with repair kits during the missions. The weapons and accessories would include RPGs, laser weapons, thermite grenades, EMP weapons, things like support tools for calling off-map strikes, smoke grenades, combat drugs, and the various utility gear, night vision, extra ammo, demolition charges, etc. I'm sure there will be many more than they mentioned. The enemy factions, like I mentioned at the start, will be primarily 3 types: So pirates, chaotic, poorly disciplined, but numerous. They might be using a lot of improvised weapons, they will be weak to suppression because of low discipline, and so on. Then there will be rogue army faction, so essentially heavily armed military units gone rogue. They will have large squads with heavy weapon support teams. They will be slow but have a lot of firepower. And then there's going to be the mysterious alien threat, which we don't really know much about just yet, at least as of the making of this video. We do know that they will supposedly require different tactics than human enemies, which obviously makes sense. Now, I did gloss over a lot of the details. There are actually, as of the making of this video, 31 dev diaries, which you can look up on Steam if you want to read more about the game, and they are quite interesting. I, for one, am really looking forward to this game. It sounds like it will have a lot of tactical flexibility to how you can handle things, but there will also be quite a few interesting decisions to make outside of missions themselves, like how to approach the operations, how to upgrade your base, how to spend your resources. So a lot about this game sounded, in a way, kind of similar to XCOM, and I'm a big-time XCOM enjoyer. I have over 4,000 hours in XCOM 1 and 2. So if any game in the next year or two can fill the void left by XCOM, because XCOM 2 at this point is 9 years old, almost 10 years old, it's Menace. Especially considering Battle Brothers was a really solid tactical game. So the developers already have a proven track record of making an actual really good tactical game, which makes Menace that much more promising. Now, the game was originally going to come out in the third quarter 2025, but it got delayed. However, there is supposed to be a demo in late September, so hopefully we'll be able to at least play the demo then. I'm certainly looking forward to it, and I will definitely play the demo when it's out. And obviously I will play the full game when it's out as well. Menace really does look like it's exactly what the genre needs right now. But that's going to be it for this video, so thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. Leave a like if you did, and I will see you next time.